Yo, what is up, guys? XRP is at $1.44 right now in CoinMarketCap. Our first tweet comes from Bank XRP. Breaking: Goldman Sachs reclaimed its position as the largest disclosed XRP ETF holder, with 86.5 million invested across 5 XRP ETFs. Goldman Sachs is back as the biggest disclosed institutional holder of XRP ETFs in the United States. Its Q2 2026 13F shows roughly 86.5 million spread across 5 separate XRP products. That matters because Goldman had cleared out its positions in Q1, then returned in Q2 with a much broader setup. The allocation included about $25.76 million in Bitwise, $25.41 million in Franklin, and $19.49 million in Canary, alongside exposure to 2 other products. That doesn't look like a single speculative bet. Goldman spread the position across 5 different funds. That looks far more like intentional institutional positioning than a random purchase. Our next tweet comes from Smoke DQG. By the end of 2026, tokenized stocks could be as liquid as traditional markets. Liquidity is key, trillions on chain. Let's watch this video.
DeFi, TradFi, bridge. Now, one thing is liquidity. I think liquidity is actually solved. Imagine market makers come to us, to Alpaca as an example, and in order for them to make markets for like the various flavors of tokens, typically they would have to have deployed balance sheets to each one of them, right? And they have a hurdle, an IRR hurdle on their capital. So if the token is small and doesn't have enough flow, they're not going to reach their hurdle rate. And so they don't want to, they would require the token issuer to pay them to provide that liquidity. What Alpaca solves for is bridging all the liquidity across all the different types of tokens. So we launched a product last year. It's one of our most successful products now. It's called ITN, the Instant Tokenization Network. It allows you to go between the various flavors of tokens and the traditional underlying instantly and 24/7. So market makers can now just have their assets sitting in the TradFi asset, where they're making markets on NYSE and NASDAQ with their traditional share, and that capital is generating money. And when they get filled on chain for all these various tokens, they don't need to pre-fund it. They can just like post-trade sell. So they get filled, they mint the token, and then they settle with the traditional share. So they do an in-kind create post-trade, right? So that, I think we're seeing that happening now, and that is solved. In several months, I think probably by the end of the year, we will see this, all these tokenized stocks will have very deep liquidity, just like as deep as TradFi.
Here's the number that could completely change how people look at XRP's institutional opportunity. Tokenized equities are moving toward traditional market levels of liquidity, potentially putting trillions of dollars of assets and transactions on chain. XRP Ledger already supports tokenized real-world assets, meaning the rails are being built before the liquidity fully arrives. If institutional capital begins flowing through this infrastructure at scale, the real question becomes how much value XRP would need to support that activity, and how far that could be from today's price. Smash that subscribe button and hit that like button if you believe XRP will reach $3 again this year. Our next tweet comes from Ripple City. Justin: Goldman Sachs storms back into XRP ETFs. Our next tweet comes from the Crypto Square. Boom. CFTC Chairman Mike Selig just sent a huge message to the crypto industry. America needs the Clarity Act, but the CFTC is ready to implement crypto market structure with or without legislation. Congress, the clock is ticking. No more excuses. Let's watch this video.
The CFTC has a lot of authority, and we're not afraid to use that authority. The president has promised market structure for the crypto industry, and that's what we're going to do, whether we have a bill or not. But we're optimistic the bill is going to set the standard. We really want the United States to lead, and having legislation, clear law on the books is the most surefire way to lock in crypto market structure, and so that's what we're focused on today.
But for my clarity, if clarity doesn't pass, you're still going to pursue regulation related to this?
Well, absolutely. It's really important that we have market structure. We can do that through rules. We can do that through laws. The CFTC has a lot of authority under its existing statutes, as do other agencies. And if we have to utilize that authority to create rules without the supporting legislation, we'll do it. But of course, legislation is the priority. That's what we want to see. America needs clear rules on the books. We'll use rules if we have to, but we're going to focus on the law today.
CFTC Chairman Mike Selig just put Congress on notice. His message was simple. America still needs the Clarity Act, but the CFTC is not going to sit around waiting for lawmakers to act. The agency says it is prepared to move forward on crypto market structure either way. That matters for XRP because the regulator overseeing digital commodities is signaling that regulatory progress does not depend entirely on Congress anymore. The pressure is now on lawmakers to catch up. Our next tweet comes from Crypto Barbie. New White House crypto advisor Patrick Witt told Coinage that if the Clarity Act fails, federal agencies are locked and loaded, ready to go to initiate crypto rulemaking. Our next tweet comes from Bank XRP. Full video: Brad Garlinghouse speaks at CFTC Innovation Advisory Committee. Let's watch this video.
Well, I was going back to the first question. Thank you, by the way, for hosting all of us. It's an honor to be here. I'm Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple. As many of you know, Ripple had the unfortunate reality of being at the center of the bullseye of the SEC's lawfare in the previous administration. And suffice it to say, my headline for today is "What a Difference Leadership Makes." I think it's profound, as you've heard from several people here, how significant that shift has been. You asked for some examples. I think it was Brian that referenced that you didn't want to invest $5 million and have $4 million go to legal bills. Ripple spent $150 million on outside legal counsel during our 4-year battle with the SEC. Most companies would not have, and frankly, other companies were bullied into submission prior to the lawsuit with Ripple. Suffice it to say, from my point of view, and I think everyone here would probably agree, the status quo is not good enough for consumers or for innovation. I think it's absolutely imperative we have these clear rules of the road, both to protect users, but also hold companies accountable and give responsible businesses the certainty to build here in America. You asked for examples. 80% of Ripple's hiring for those 4 years was non-US. Even today, our second largest office is London because of that legacy that has shifted under the leadership of this president and this administration, the CFTC and SEC. I think we all can agree that the technologies represented at the tables here can make moving money faster, more efficient, and more accessible, but we have to have clarity to unlock that potential responsibly. So thank you for your leadership, and thank you everyone for being here today to help achieve that.
Thank you, Brad.
Brad Garlinghouse just appeared before the CFTC's Innovation Advisory Committee, and the symbolism is hard to miss. 5 years ago, Ripple was fighting the SEC in court. Now its CEO is sitting with regulators, helping shape the next phase of US crypto policy. This is a complete reversal from where Ripple stood in 2020, and it shows how dramatically XRP's regulatory position has changed. Our next tweet comes from Smoke DQG. Fear is down, greed is up. Our next tweet comes from Crypto Barbie. Breaking: U.S. Senator Dave McCormick urges to pass the Clarity Act. I think we'll get that vote very soon after we come back in September. I am encouraging my Democratic colleagues to vote for it. Let's watch this video.
Well, I agree with the president. We need to vote and get this passed in the Senate. And I think it's important to step back and say why we should do this. This innovation, this opportunity, we want to make sure it happens in America. There's thousands of jobs in Pennsylvania and hundreds of thousands across the country that are driven by crypto and the innovation that's taking place. But this is also a framework that's going to protect consumers, ensure that we have the appropriate anti-fraud and terrorist financing protections. So this legislation is something we need to get done. It was voted out of the Banking Committee with bipartisan support, and now it's time to bring it to the floor and vote. And I think we'll get that vote very soon after we come back in September. And I'm encouraging my Democratic colleagues to vote for it. I think there's some open issues that we're working hard to resolve, and I'm optimistic we'll get this done.
Real quick, if this helped, press the like button. It tells YouTube to show this to people who want the truth, not hype. And press the subscribe button if you're done being sold the moon. Avar got your next one right here. Go.